Chapter 11. Dillon woke the next morning with two things on his mind. One, he was going to replace the charm he had somehow lost. He'd dug through all the drawers after he and Kaitlyn retired last night, but still come up empty-handed. Two, he was going to prove to her that he was committed. They had planned dinner, but he wanted to make sure he got them in the nicest restaurant and had flowers waiting for her. The charm wasn't an engagement ring, but for him, it was like a promise. If he could convince her he wasn't going anywhere, he could see marriage in their future. He grabbed his clothes for the day and took them into the bathroom with him, whistling as he went. A hot shower would be the perfect start to the day. Then he could grab breakfast and coffee and head into town to take care of all the details. Hopefully, Kaitlyn would understand his absence. He set his new clothes on the counter, stripped off his pajama pants and stepped into the shower, turning on the faucets and adjusting the temperature until it was perfect. As the water pelted his skin, his mind pictured the future. He wanted to stay and help his mother with the lodge, but Denver, where Kaitlyn lived, was over an hour away. It wasn't a terrible commute, but it would be if he did it daily. Perhaps he could convince her to move a little closer, but that would mean moving her business. Or maybe he could get a job in Denver and help his mother out on the weekends. Though he didn't have all the answers, he knew he would figure them out. As he turned off the shower, he heard a scuffling noise. His body tensed, and he grabbed the towel and wrapped it around his waist, not bothering to dry off first. The immediate vicinity looked untouched, and he took a deep breath before stepping toward the doorway to his room. Confronting a thief or an attacker wearing only a towel certainly didn't give him confidence. He looked around for a weapon to wield, but there was nothing. He took a deep breath, pulled back his shoulders, and charged into the bedroom. The room was empty, but his door was ajar. Dillon knew it had been shut. He would never have stepped into the shower if the door were open, which meant someone had been in his room. Someone with a key. With quick strides, he crossed the room, opened the door, and poked his head out. The hallway was empty. Whoever had been there was gone now. He shut the door once again and engaged the lock. He would have to tell his mother about this after he dressed, because unless she had been in here, Dillon was fairly certain the culprit was Julian. The question was, why? He found his mother cooking pancakes at the stove when he entered the kitchen. "Morning, Dillon," she said as she glanced his direction. "Morning, Mother. Were you in my room just a minute ago?" He grabbed a mug from the cupboard and filled it with coffee. "No, I've been down here making breakfast. Why?" Dillon glanced around to make sure Julian was nowhere nearby. "Mom, I think we might have to do something about Julian." Her brows knitted together as she looked at him. "Julian? Whatever for? What does he have to do with this?" Dillon added a few spoonfuls of sugar to his coffee and stirred it before leaning back against the counter. "I heard a shuffling noise when I was in the shower. By the time I got out, whoever it was had left, but my door was open, and I know I shut it before I got in the shower." His mother shook her head. "But why would Julian be in your room?" "I don't know, Mother, but first my gift to Kaitlyn went missing, and now this. I don't think it's a coincidence." She pursed her lips as she turned back to the pancakes. "He's so nice, and he's always been so helpful. I just can't believe he would do this." "Well, I can't think of anyone else it would be. No one has the keys, right?" "No, no one does." She scooped up the pancakes and placed them on the plate. Suddenly, an idea struck Dillon. "Hey, do you still have his employment paperwork? His resume or something with his social on it? Of course. You know I keep meticulous records. But why do you need them? Instead of answering her question, he posed his own. Does Dan still work for the police in town? Dan had been a friend of his father's before he died. The two would often get together to bowl or shoot pool. At least, that's what they told his mother. Secretly, Dillon thought they had snuck away to smoke cigars. His mother hated the smell and swore his father had given it up, but Dillon had found a humidor in his father's desk one day and decided bowling was a perfect ruse to come home smelling like smoke. I believe so, but I haven't spoken with Dan since your father passed. Good. Hopefully he won't mind doing me a favor. I'm going to go into town later today to replace Kaitlyn's gift. I can stop by the station and see if he can give me any information on Julian. His mother sighed and turned off the stove. Is that really necessary? Mom, if he's a thief, don't you want to know before he puts the lodge or those who stay here in danger? I suppose, but it seems so drastic. Can you get some plates? Dillon did as she asked as she carried the pancakes to the table. Look, if he comes back clean, I'll give it up, and he never has to know. But if he doesn't, Dillon shrugged. I'll help you find a new groundsman. It's not just that, she said with a sigh, as she set the plate down and then pulled out a chair. Julian's been here since just after your father died. He's like family. As she sat down and dropped her head onto her hand, Dillon noticed for the first time the lines on her face. How had he not seen them before? His mother was lonely. He sat across from her and grabbed her hand. Mom, I know I haven't been around much, but I'm going to be here a lot more. Her shoulders lifted and hopeful eyes held his gaze. What are you saying? I'm moving back, Mom. Kaitlyn and I are getting back together, so I want to be close to her, and I've missed Colorado. But what about seeing the world? Dillon rolled his eyes. He had been everywhere. After high school, he had decided to backpack through Europe and taken tons of pictures there. Some of those shots had landed him jobs in Hawaii and the Caribbean. He had seen the world, almost every country. I've seen it, Mom, but it's always been missing something, and I think that something is Kaitlyn. Oh, I'm so happy. His mother squeezed his hand, a huge smile on her face. But won't you miss being a photographer? I'm not giving it up entirely, just putting it on hold for a little bit. Besides, I can help you take pictures of the rooms after Kaitlyn redoes them, and we can add them to the website to help drive up business. So I'll still be doing what I love. His mother stood then and enveloped him in a hug. You've made an old woman so happy. Are we interrupting? Kaitlyn asked from the doorway. Her face was scrunched in a comical expression as if she wasn't sure what to make of the scene before her. Absolutely not. Come in and join us. Dillon was just telling me the good news of him staying here. You get to live here? Jack asked. His eyes widened and his jaw dropped. You could build a snowman every day. The adults all chuckled. Well, only in the winter, buddy, but yeah, I guess I could. You are so lucky. I wish I could live here. As he climbed up in a chair, Dillon and Kaitlyn shared a look. Was she picturing a life here as he was? Well, how about we eat? His mother asked, as if she could sense the electricity in the air between Dillon and Kaitlyn. Yes, we're starved, and those look delicious, Kaitlyn said, as she pulled out a chair next to Dillon. After breakfast, he pulled Kaitlyn aside. I'm going into town to run some errands. I'll text you with the restaurant name and the time to meet for dinner. Do you think you'll be able to drive there yourself?" Dillon knew she was a capable driver, but more snow had fallen since the last time she drove, and he wanted to make sure she arrived safely. "I'll be fine," she said with a smile. "Good. I'm sorry I'll be gone all day, though." She squeezed his arm. "Don't worry. I need to work on the designs for your mother today anyway. It's probably a good thing because I don't get much work done with you around." As he pulled her in for a quick kiss, he thought about warning her about Julian, but her guard was already up where he was concerned, and Dillon wanted to be sure before he accused the man. However, he did stop by his mother's office and retrieve Julian's resume and employment paperwork before heading out for the day. Better to be safe than sorry. After Dillon kissed her goodbye, Kaitlyn returned to the kitchen. Jack sat at the table staring into the winter wonderland outside. "Mom, can we go play in the snow?" Kaitlyn sucked in her breath. She didn't want to disappoint him, but she was so far behind on work. She needed to check with Melody and make sure the office was still running, and then she had to get to drawing. "I'll tell you what, if you promise to stay right where I can see you, I'll let you go out by yourself." His mouth opened and he danced from one foot to the other. "Really?" Kaitlyn laughed at his reaction, but she couldn't really blame him. She was overprotective, and she rarely let him outside alone unless it was in their backyard, which was fully fenced in. Part of her fear was a stranger taking him, but a bigger part was a worry that Jerry might come back. He hadn't fought the divorce, but Kaitlyn still lived in fear that one day he would return and assert parental rights. "Yes, really. Let's go get you dressed warmly, and then you can go outside. I'll sit right here and work on my sketching so I can see you." "Okay." He scurried to the stairs and half jumped, half skipped to the top and down the hallway to their room, where he stood impatiently waiting for her. "Come on, Mom, hurry up." "I'm coming." She inserted the key and opened the door. While he added extra layers, she grabbed some pencils and her sketch pad from her work bag. She hadn't known she would be sketching here, but she always carried it with her in case inspiration struck. When she was sure Jack was toasty, they headed back to the kitchen and she opened the sliding glass door for him. Her heart tightened as he skipped outside, and a tiny inkling of fear crept in. Was she doing the right thing? Maybe she could put off work and go outside with him. What if something happened to him? "I used to let Dillon play alone outside all the time as a boy," Margie said from behind her. Kaitlyn turned. "Am I that obvious?" Margie smiled. "It doesn't get any easier as they get older either. I worried every time Dillon was away from me, but at some point you do have to let them fly a little." A large sigh escaped Kaitlyn's lips. "I suppose." She spared one more look at Jack before returning to the table and sitting back down. "I think it's harder because he has no father figure, and I'm afraid he might follow some man off just to know what he's missing." Margie sat across from her. "Can I ask what happened to his father?" Kaitlyn snorted and rolled her eyes. "Is it awful that I don't know, and I'm not sure I care?" "Not necessarily. I guess it wasn't a good marriage then?" "No, I thought it was, but soon after we got married, Jerry began getting angry. I don't know if it was me, him, or being tied down, but he changed. When I got pregnant, he began to get physical, and I knew I couldn't stay. I filed for divorce shortly after Jack was born, and for some reason, Jerry didn't fight it. He's never had a father figure." I know boys need good men in their lives, but I think you're doing a pretty good job. And I have no doubt that God will send you the right man. Now, I know I'm biased, but I happen to think Dillon might be that man. But even if he's not, I know God will provide." Margie's words warmed Kaitlyn's heart. She had never had the highest self-esteem, and it had been rocked after Jerry. But it was starting to build back up. "Thank you, Margie. I'm glad we reconnected. I've missed these talks." Margie patted her hand. "Me too, my dear. I always considered you like a daughter." She leaned forward a little. "Maybe one day you really will be." Heat flared across Kaitlyn's face, but she returned the smile. "Maybe one day I will." "Well, I'll let you get to work. I'm hoping that sketchpad means you are working on ideas for my guest rooms." "Absolutely. I'll have to go back to Denver for a week or so, but then I can come back and begin work if that's okay with you." "I would love that." Margie flashed one final smile before exiting the room. Kaitlyn glanced one more time outside, but Jack was playing happily in the snow. He threw up a handful of snow and danced underneath it. Okay, he was all right. She could get to work now. Kaitlyn opened her sketchbook and closed her eyes as she tried to envision how the guest rooms should look. When she had a picture in her head, she snapped her eyes open and began sketching the designs out. As often happened when she was working, Kaitlyn got lost in her work. Until the phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID. Melody. Oh, good. She needed to talk to her and had meant to call her earlier. "Hey, Melody, how was your Christmas?" "It was good. How was yours?" "Busy, but also good, at least until Dillon's ex-girlfriend showed up." "What?" Even across the phone, the shock was evident in Melody's voice. "I totally thought he was into you." "He is, or at least I'm pretty sure he is. We're even talking about getting back together and having dinner tonight." "I don't understand. Boy, I missed a lot." Kaitlyn smiled. "Yeah, I guess you did." She glanced to the backyard to check on Jack, and her hand gripped the phone tighter. Jack was nowhere to be found. "So, spill. I want to hear all about it." Hang on." Kaitlyn stood and walked to the glass door. Her eyes scanned left and right, but there was no sign of Jack. "Melody, can I call you right back? I have to find my son." "Sure. Is everything okay?" Melody's voice had shifted from fun and flirty to worried. "I'm not sure. He was supposed to be playing outside, but I got busy drawing, and now he's gone." Worry didn't even begin to describe the feeling squeezing Kaitlyn's heart right now. Fear choked her lungs, and each breath became an issue. "Don't worry. I'm sure he's just around the side. Go check and call me after." "I will." Kaitlyn ended the call and shoved it in her pocket. Without even grabbing her coat, Kaitlyn flung open the door and charged into the snowy backyard. "Jack?" Her voice trembled with emotion. "Jack?" She looked to the right, but he wasn't there either. The left side jutted out a little more, so she hurried to the end of it and looked left. Nothing but white stillness. "Jack?" Desperation filled her voice as she screamed at the top of her lungs. "Jack!" "What, Mom?" She whirled around to find Jack and Julian behind her. They had either come from the forest when her back was turned or from the side of the building behind her. "Where were you? You were supposed to stay where I could see you." Kaitlyn cringed at the coldness in her voice, but she had been so worried. Her emotions were still rattling out of control inside her. "Sorry, Mommy, but Julian wanted to show me this really cool tree. It kind of bends toward the ground instead of up. He says in the summer it's a great climbing tree." "That's great, but Julian," she fixed him with an icy stare, "should have asked your mother if he could take you somewhere first." A look of chagrin crossed Julian's features. "You're right, and I'm sorry. You just looked so focused in there that I didn't want to interrupt your work." Kaitlyn almost believed he was sorry. His words were right. His tone was right. But there was still something in his eyes that didn't sit well with her. "It's fine, but it's past lunchtime, and I think it's time Jack came inside." "Aw, Mom, do I have to?" "Yes, you have to. Maybe you can come out later. With Margie, if she's available." Kaitlyn made sure to look at Julian when she said, "with Margie." She didn't want to poke the bear, as she had no idea what he might do, but she wanted him to be aware that she was not pleased. Jack's small shoulders rose and fell with his sigh. "All right. Thanks again, Julian. The tree was cool." "No problem, little man." Though his words were said to Jack, his eyes never left Kaitlyn's, and she suppressed the shudder that wanted to race through her body. Suddenly, she felt the cold. It curled around her with sharp talons and burned her skin. "Let's go." She grabbed Jack's hand and led him back inside, clenching her jaw to keep it from chattering. "It was just Julian, Mom. I didn't go with a stranger. I thought it would be okay," Jack said, as they crossed the white expanse. "We'll talk about it inside," Kaitlyn hissed, and sped up her steps. When they were safely back in the house, she shut the door behind her and glanced back. Julian was gone, and she didn't think he was anywhere he could hear her. "Look, buddy, I'm sure Julian is nice, but I don't know him well. I would just like you to have Margie, Dillon, or myself with you wherever you go, okay?" "Okay," Jack said with a sigh. "Can I go play in our room?" Kaitlyn closed her eyes and took a deep breath. He was only 5. She needed to remember that. What was important to her sometimes went over his head, and she had no concrete reason to tell him to stay away from Julian. It was just a feeling, and 5-year-olds didn't always understand feelings. "Yes, you can go play, but remember what I said. Don't go anywhere with Julian without coming and telling me first." Though she still had work to do, Kaitlyn followed him up the stairs and made sure he was in the room with the door closed before she returned to the table. She fell into the chair and let herself shake for a moment, releasing the pent-up emotions that had been building inside her. Then she pulled out her phone and called Melody back. Her business partner was more like a sister, and Kaitlyn knew she would worry until she heard. "Did you find him?" Melody had picked up on the second ring. "Yeah, he was off somewhere with Julian." "Oh, well, that's okay then." Kaitlyn said nothing, and the pause stretched out. "Right? I honestly don't know. There's been a few odd incidents, and there is just something about him that bugs me, but I can't place my finger on it." "Wow, I should have come for Christmas. I've missed a lot. Julian's not a good guy. You and Dillon are back together, but his ex is in town. It's like a Christmas Hallmark movie, and I can't believe I'm missing it all." "Don't forget the cover picture," Kaitlyn said, relaxing with Melody's teasing words. "The photographer was something else, and Dillon and I are on the cover together. Actually, Dillon, Jack, and me." "What? How do you know that?" "Dillon's ex is a model, and I guess she knows the photographer who sent her the cover picture. My head is literally spinning over here. This is the most excitement you've had in pretty much since I've known you. Ha ha, Kaitlyn replied, though the statement was true. Not that she was enjoying all the excitement, but it certainly had been a while since she'd had any. How is the business going? Any new jobs? Oh, right. That's why I called. Evidently word got out that you were redecorating the lodge. A few other local businesses have called, wanting to set up a meeting with us. You mean you. I don't generally do businesses. The only reason I'm doing the lodge is because it's more like doing a house. Besides, Margie wants me to redo the guest rooms, too. Melody let out a squeal on the other end of the phone. That's wonderful. We'll both be busy for the next few weeks then. Oops, gotta run. The other line is ringing. The phone clicked in Kaitlyn's ear and she chuckled. Melody hadn't even said goodbye, but that's just who she was. She had a lot of passion for what she did. Sometimes so much that she forgot common courtesy when something grabbed her attention. Kaitlyn set the phone on the table to continue sketching, but before she could pick up the pencil, it buzzed and vibrated. Had Melody forgotten to tell her something? She glanced at the screen, but the text message was not from Melody, but from Dillon. Giada's Italian Kitchen, 6 p.m. Kaitlyn glanced at her watch. It was nearing 1. That would give her another few hours to finish the designs before she had to shower and dress for the date. After replying she would meet him there, she tucked her phone back in her pocket and returned to her sketches. 4 hours later, she closed the book. The rough sketches were done, and her hand ached. She'd load them into her computer program later. Right now, she needed to move. Jack was asleep on the bed when she entered the room. He rarely napped anymore, but when he was sick or had played especially hard, he would often crash in the afternoons or early evenings. Kaitlyn was then always stuck with the dilemma of letting him sleep, though he might wake in the middle of the night starving, or waking him up to make sure he ate and take the chance he might not fall back to sleep at his regular bedtime. She decided this time to let him sleep. After her shower, she would find Margie and let her know. Since he hadn't had lunch that she knew of, Kaitlyn was certain his stomach would wake him in the next hour anyway. Kaitlyn removed her charm bracelet and set it on the sink before taking off her clothes. The gift had been so thoughtful, and though Dillon said she owed him nothing in return, Kaitlyn knew she wouldn't feel right until she had gotten him something equally fitting. She ran through ideas as she stepped into the shower, but none of them seemed right. Kaitlyn supposed she would know it when she saw it. As she emerged from the bathroom, washed, dried, and dressed, Jack stirred on the bed. His eyes popped open, though they didn't quite focus on her. "Where are you going, Mommy?" "To dinner with Dillon. You hungry?" "Yeah. Can we do McDonald's?" The stupor of sleep fled from his body as he bolted upright on the bed. Kaitlyn chuckled and ruffled his hair. "No, I'm going to dinner. You are staying here. But let's go find Margie. Maybe she'll make you a hamburger for dinner." "Yay, hamburger!" Jack scrambled off the bed and to the door. "Come on, Mom, I'm starving." They found Margie in the kitchen, whipping up some dinner. She looked up as they entered. "Oh, there you are. I was wondering if you might be getting hungry." "I am." Jack grinned and rubbed his belly. "What are you making?" "I'm making cheeseburger casserole." She laughed as Jack scrunched up his face. "I know. I thought I didn't like casseroles when I was your age either, but this one is really good. It's like having a cheeseburger, only you eat it with a fork." Jack still didn't look convinced. "Okay, if you say so." "Just try it," Kaitlyn told him. "You might like it." She turned her attention to Margie. "Thanks again for watching him. I don't think we'll be out late." Margie winked at her. "Stay as long as you like. I'm sure I can keep Jack entertained for a while." Kaitlyn felt another blush steal over her. "Be good for Margie," she said to Jack, and gave him a hug. Then she grabbed her coat and opened the front door, excited for the upcoming dinner.